Welcome back to CryptosRus. I'm George. We're all George. So, welcome to another market open stream. Today, we're going to talk about CPI inflation data. What is going on with inflation in the U.S.? It ticked up this last month. So, is there more danger ahead? Let's talk about this and, of course, how this relates to Bitcoin and crypto. And there's several big pieces of news I want to share today. So let's do this. Welcome. The market bell. Market bell has just rung. U.S. market is actually looking like it wants to go green today. Okay, so that's pretty good. The market bell has just rung. Right now, all three indexes are in the green, so that's terrific. However, they go hold because I think Wall Street's still trying to digest what to do with this latest CPI inflation reading. Okay, so it's good news and bad news. The bad news is overall headline inflation went up month to month. We were at 3%. Okay, now it's at 3.2%. So technically, you can see right there, we went upwards. From June to July, we went up by 0.2%. The good news is, however, if you subtract off food and energy, okay, the inflation actually went down from 4.8% to 4.7%. So that's the core inflation. Core inflation still went down by 0.1% month to month. Headline inflation went up by 0.2% a month. And here's the thing. It was already anticipated that in July, headline inflation would go up. Most thought it would be 3.3%. So even though the CPI ticked up by 0.2% month to month, it's still lower than expectations. So that is the reason why today the U.S. market is looking pretty green, even though we ticked upwards. And according to this, most of the gains came from housing. Housing is starting to go up once again. Now, here's the thing. One reading, one uptick means nothing, right? But now we have to pay attention to the next one. The one that's going to come out next month, okay? And then we're going to have another FOMC meeting. Because Powell originally said we needed 2 more rate hikes. But this last FOMC meeting, he kind of took the second one off the table. He didn't say that for sure we need another one. He wants to study all the data, 2 months worth of data before making a determination, right? So this one is okay by itself. But if we start seeing inflation come up in a big way, like the next one, it shows up headline inflation going up again and core inflation no longer going down, going up again. Well, that means we're probably going to get another rate hike, which is something that no one wants, right? So we'll see. So is it time to panic yet? Not yet. But it does show that inflation is not just going to keep tanking down like it has been before. Okay. Something else that came out today in terms of economic data is the Jobless Claims report, which unfortunately is heading upwards. And this is something that we don't want to see. Okay, in August, 248,000 people claimed for unemployment versus 227,000 for July, which is a growth of 21,000. Okay, so obviously not something we want to see. We don't want to see unemployment go up. Again, nothing to panic about. Overall, I think unemployment numbers still around 3.5%. So it has not ticked up higher to, closer to 4%, which originally Powell stated he anticipated unemployment to jump up to about 4.2% before it's all done, before his job is done. And we haven't really ticked up yet. So that's the good thing. Okay. So we're definitely seeing, we're still seeing plenty of people have jobs, and that's good. Overall economic activity, even though it's slowed down, not in a bad way, right? So I guess things are okay for now. Let's just say that. Let's just call it that. Okay for now. But what's not okay is there's more problems coming out of China. China is really, I guess supposedly there's real big problems. Their prices are falling, and their CPI is actually below zero. Their CPI is negative 0.3%. Okay, because now there's real fears that they are in deflation. They're not disinflation. They're in deflation mode, which means no one is buying, no one is spending. So that is the absolute worst thing. Deflation, arguably by all economists and financial experts, is much worse than inflation, and that's what China is going through right now. So does that mean that they're going to spin up their money printer and start printing and start injecting money into their economy? Quite possibly, because right now their CPI is in the negative. Okay, it's not even at zero, it's below zero. That's how bad it is for them right now. So I don't see that as a problem for the US. I just don't think it's going to happen here, but we'll see. Something to pay attention to going forward. All right, so outside of economic data, what else is going on? You have a lot of whale movement going on right now. $380 million worth of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, I don't even know what project that is, that are being moved right now. And traditionally speaking, when you see a large move like this, for example, about 2,500 Bitcoins being moved from Coinbase, what does that mean? It's going into someone's pockets. That's what it means. It's usually a large OTC sale, and it's not just with Coinbase. Look at this one. A 4,000 transfer from Gemini, 120 million, right? These usually mean that, yeah, you got some large institutional buyers that are just sucking up all the Bitcoins right now. Okay. That's what's happening. There's a lot of large entities that are buying and holding behind the scenes, and they don't always have to tell you, like MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is probably the only company that likes to brag about how many Bitcoins it has. And every single purchase, of course, Michael Saylor lets you know about it, right? But they're about the only company that does that. No one else really just like proactively says, oh yeah, we bought $100 million and more of Bitcoin, right? So who knows where these, who knows where these wallets belong to, and who just purchased a whole bunch of Bitcoin. I saw this, SoFi Bank. They started as a crypto company, turned into a bank. They recently reported, and they have $170 million worth of crypto in their balance sheet, which includes Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Doge, and Cardano. Okay, so like you have random companies that just hold a whole bunch of crypto. And then this site lists out even more companies, right, including MicroStrategy and Tesla and mining companies like HUD-8 and Marathon. And then you have like Coinbase and Block and all these other ones. Okay, I mean, in total here, just publicly traded companies from several countries already hold $7 billion worth of Bitcoin, 237,000 worth, right? And who knows who hasn't disclosed? And what about private companies that does not have to report on their balance sheet? You just don't know. You just don't know at this point. That's why the reserves of all the exchanges keeps on going down. Retail investors just think that there's infinite amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we never have to worry about supply. That's simply not true. We have so many charts that show the reserves keep dropping and dropping and dropping back to 2016, 2017 levels. Soon they'll drop back down to 2011 levels and go below that, because these guys are not messing around. When they buy thousands at a time. Let's not forget when BlackRock needs to start buying for its ETF, how many Bitcoins it needs to buy. It could buy like 100,000 right away. It could buy more than MicroStrategy, right? In fact, BlackRock is a majority, not a majority, but it's one of the largest shareholders of MicroStrategy, in case you guys didn't know. BlackRock is a major investor in many of the Bitcoin companies already, including a lot of the mining companies. Same thing with Fidelity. Fidelity owns a large portion of a lot of mining companies as well, right? So it's not like they're not in it. They're already in it, but they're going to need a lot more. They're going to need a whole bunch of Bitcoins when those spot Bitcoin ETFs get approved, because in order for them to sell the shares of the ETFs, they need to hold a lot of Bitcoin. So bottom line is, yeah, there's going to be a lot more purchasing in the future. It's already happening, but there's going to be a lot more coming up. And of course, you know, we're getting closer and closer to Halving event. This is why everyone's getting excited. And, you know, right before the next Halving event, if all those spot Bitcoin ETFs get approved, man, just watch out. After the Halving event, you could see all the times before. After the Halving event is when things really started getting crazy and we started getting those parabolic runs, right? We will get the same thing. And this time around, with trillions looking to enter the market and with much easier access, you know, watch out. Watch out. Things are really going to start moving. Yeah, okay. What else is there today? Also, I saw this. Not Bitcoin related, but kind of Bitcoin related. Kind of interesting. Joe Rogan, you know, periodically talks about, you know, crypto. We really haven't seen a huge Bitcoin guy or crypto guy go on Joe Rogan, right? It would be awesome if Michael Saylor goes on Joe Rogan's show. I don't think he would. Well, I don't, you know, I take that back. I don't see why he wouldn't. But yeah, but take a look. You know, there's a lot of talk about CBDCs. Russia is about to begin CBDC trials. In the US, we already have Fed now. Okay, even though that's being used for the banks, Fed Powell is considering a digital dollar, but you know, China already has their digital yuan. Many other countries are coming up with their CBDCs, right? And I'm really against it. I've always said CBDCs are horrible. It's not just going to be an extension of the dollar or a fiat. It's going to be a way for them to track every single movement that you have and make it so much easier for them to just stop and hold everything if they needed to, right? I don't think anyone is going to enjoy CBDCs. And it's funny, Joe Rogan and Post Malone are talking about this. Post Malone, I mean, he just bought a crazy card for several $1 million. I don't know if you guys heard about that, like a Lord of the Rings card, one of one ring card. But take a listen to this. This is kind of interesting.
So how do you feel about the government's digital currency that they're working on?
No fucking way. No way. That's what I think. I think that's checkmate. That's game over.
That is fucking checkmate.
Because if they apply that to a social credit score, if they decide somehow or another that you need some social credit score system and it's for the benefit of society, and they outline that they can, you know, track your behavior and your tweets and all your things, and you get a score. And if
already doing that, they just haven't released the fucking report cards.
Well, they don't have the kind of freedom that they like.
They didn't send the report cards home to the parents yet.
Right.
Everything is already imprinted. Everything is already tracked. Everything is already there.
But
we just haven't given a
They just can't control you to the same extent that they would like. And what they would like to do is to be able to strip you of your money and to be able to lock you down and then make sure that you comply so that all the other people also comply because they don't want to be stripped of their money. They don't want everything they work for just be taken away instantly overnight and be powerless. No one to call. No one's going to answer your phone. They just decided you fucked up and the rules are the rules. And so then where does that money go? Who takes your money? Who takes... And that's what things, when people start profiting off of confiscating people's digital currency, it's going to be a real fucking problem.
Well, it's not all fucking currency is digital.
Yeah, but the idea of them controlling all of the money.
And it's all unilateral.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
All right. So about the most intelligent part of that conversation. But I would like to go on Joe Rogan's show and talk crypto and Bitcoin. But anyways, I think Joe kind of gets it, right? I think the main difference is, even though most fiat is pretty much digital now, right? But there's a lot that isn't. The $20 or $100 in your wallet, the government cannot just freeze that. Okay, if you happen to store it in your piggy bank under your mattress, they don't know where that goes, right? There's large portions of cash out there where the government can't track. But once we move to CBDCs, that's going to change. No, they know exactly where every single dollar, every single cent is on the planet at any given time. They can confiscate that at any given time. You could be traveling in Venezuela or wherever, or Russia, and they can pull that back and freeze it at any given time, right? And they know exactly what you're doing. If you're paying for Uber, you're buying a slice of pizza, you're giving it to your grandchildren, they will know exactly where every single dollar is going. And if you think about that, that's kind of scary. That's kind of scary, right? Like everything can be tracked, can be stopped, can be confiscated. So I think that's where it's going to lead. And then this other thing about what Joe said about the social score, that's going to be interesting. Rather than have a credit score, if they implement something called like a social score, like how socially responsible you are, right? Based on your money, based on your earnings, based on your expenditure and all that stuff. I don't know where that's going to lead, but it is not going to lead to good places. That's for sure, right? That's why the alternative is Bitcoin, right? Alternative is something that can't be controlled by governments, by any entity, by any people, right? We got Bitcoin, and CBDCs do not, they don't compete with Bitcoin, not whatsoever, right? So I think people are confused by the difference between like a digital currency from the government and a digital currency that's not from the government, right? There's big differences there. Anyways, interesting thoughts. All right, what else is there? I saw this. This is pretty good news. This came out. Aptos pumped up a little bit. Aptos partnered up with Microsoft to focus on AI and blockchain, right? Aptos is going to be plugging into OpenAI service, also running a few validator nodes on Azure, and Microsoft in return will partner up with Aptos due to their expertise with blockchain and see if there's any kind of collaboration that they can do, I guess, going forward. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then lastly, of course, a lot of you guys are wondering about SHIB. SHIB, as we get closer and closer to next week, activity is going to increase. I don't know if the price will, but it has received a price bump. And everyone's waiting for Shibarium next week. And we'll see. We'll see when it gets released how good it's going to be. All right. That's pretty much it. Hey, look at this. Today's looking good. Tesla's up, Mara's up, Coinbase is up. Coinbase up is big. I think Coinbase below 100 is actually pretty good buy. It was just at like 110. Could be a good pickup. But anyways, today's the U.S. market stocks are looking good. Bitcoin still below 30,000, but we could see another test or retest today. We have not been able to break 30,000 for a while, right? But will today be the day? We'll see. All right, let's do some Q&A. I saw someone said Black Mirror It's a documentary. I love Black Mirror. The recent seasons not as good as the previous seasons, but it's still very good. Those of you guys that like futuristic scenarios, kind of like Twilight Zone, it's a great series on Netflix. Andy, I'm glad you're here. Let's see. SHIB is going to 1 cent. I don't know. That's knocking off a lot of zeros. I don't know if that's possible. That's one. That's knocking off four zeros. I don't think that's gonna happen. That would throw it into a 5 trillion or 6 trillion market cap, or 60 trillion market cap. That's not realistic. That's not realistic. Who was my first celebrity crush? Ooh, that's a hard one. I don't know. I think it must be Jessica Alba. She's still gorgeous, by the way. She's still absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, I think growing up, she was my celebrity crush. When are you going to take us for another ride in Ferrari? To be honest, I have not driven it for like a month. There's just not many places to drive around here. There's a track that's like an hour away. And I guess if you can pay for an instructor to like to teach you and ride along with you in your own car. So I've been thinking about doing that, but I just never have time ever. So yeah, maybe one of these days. Oh yeah, Alyssa Milano's. Yeah. That's a good one. Is it street? Yes, it's street legal. Of course, it's street legal. The CPI out already. Yes. Yes, CPI ticked up for the month of July, which is no good. Core inflation still went down, which is good. But overall, headline inflation came in lower than expectations, which is also good. But yeah, we still have to watch out for the next one. We can't have 2 consecutive inflation readings that show we reversed upwards. We can't have that. So the next one better show that we're either at the same level or lower again. Otherwise, Powell is going to be forced to do another rate hike, and that is not something we want. How do you feel about the 400Z? Isn't it just the Z? They don't even call it 400Z. It's just the Nissan Z. It's not as impressive as I thought it would be. I would take the Supra over the Z. Yeah, there's something about that engine, or maybe the way it's geared. Didn't feel that fast or lively when driving around. I am not driven a Lucid, but they are going to go bankrupt. So I've said that already. They just don't sell enough cars. and they're too expensive, and people love SUVs. So it's like the three negative trifectas for Lucid. When do you think we'll reach 40,000 again? I don't know. It could come like next week. Like when Bitcoin moves, it moves really quick. And when these big boys are buying, who knows? 40,000, I think by the end of the year, I think we're probably going to be around 45, 50,000. If I had to guess, by the end of the year, that's where we will be. So it could come in 4 months. It could come in 2 months, right? But it's coming. Did you know, Matt? You happy Tate's free? They probably buy more Bitcoin. I don't know if Tate owns any Bitcoin. He's talked about it, but I don't know if he actually truly believes and owns it. So I don't think I've seen it. It's been quiet. I don't see much from him recently. It's kind of lost a lot of his appeal, I think. I don't know. I just don't see nearly as many clips of him like before. Yeah, Coinbase have it. Today is a good day so far. Cardano above 30 cents. SHIB still climbing 3% today. Any other big movers? XDC network 12%. Wow, I'm not familiar with that project. Yeah. Do you think another 2008 is likely? No. Zero. I would give it a 0% chance that 2008 is likely. 2008 was all about the greed of banks, and it was the first time really the greed was too much and everything was going to collapse, and the government finally had to step in. The Fed had to step in, right? This time around, it's different. There's still a lot of greed, but the Fed and the government has learned that we will prop up everything no matter what, because it seems like there's no consequence to unlimited printing. So that's why we're not going to see the same kind of disasters. The big banks like JP Morgan and Bank of America and Citibank, they're flush with cash. They're nowhere close of running out of money. And the smaller mid-tier and the regional banks and the smaller tier banks, they can pretty much get unlimited loans from the Fed now. So there's not going to be any banking disaster like before. There will be weakness, but for everything to collapse like 2008, 0% chance. Gene, first time super chatter, thank you. George never thinks about SHIB burning 90% of its supply. It doesn't matter. It could burn 99% of supply. There was too much to begin with. And it's not going to be immediate, even if that is the case. It takes a long time to burn. It's based on usage and activity, and it has to increase like a millionfold for that to happen. So, first of all, chill. And second of all, SHIB will do fine in the next parabolic run up. But you got to set realistic expectations. It's not going to go to $1. It's not going to go to a cent. because that would give it a 50 trillion market cap. That's not going to happen, right? So you have to be realistic about your expectations. Bitcoin is slowly trending upwards again. That's good. Entire market is slowly trending upwards. These whale buys continue to happen. We're seeing large number of Bitcoins being removed from circulation almost like weekly now. Are we in a super cycle? I like to think so. I like to think that this cycle, after 2025, we won't have another huge dip and we just continue forward. It could be if we have a lot of spot Bitcoin ETFs around and a lot of institutions holding those shares and no one's really dumping, then yeah, maybe this time around we just have a super cycle. We may just trend down a little bit and then we continue forward. And then, you know, Bitcoin will never see these levels again, ever. And maybe Bitcoin just stays above 6 figures forever. It could happen. It could happen. That's looking good. Let's see if we can retouch 30,000 again. And let's see if we can break it. We have not been able to break and hold above 30,000 for a while. Since mid-end of July, right? So we went sideways for a little bit over here. We broke below. Now we're having a little bit of trouble to come above. Once we break through and hold, you know, 31.6 is the real test. We need to break through that. Novid, you're welcome. You're welcome. So we'll see how today goes. Overall, Bitcoin is coming up. Market should be turning green soon. The U.S. market is looking very, very strong today due to CPI inflation reading. So even though headline inflation went up, it came in below expectations. The real test will be the next one for next month, showing if headline inflation is still going up or trending back down again. So the next one will be absolutely important. But in the meantime, whales are still stocking about Bitcoin, and CBDCs are still bad news. And I'll see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.